operation.
And there's the proposed last page.
Okay. Call the November 21st, 2023 Ware Board of Firewards regular meeting to order. And it is 6:01 p.m. Turn of the clock. Okay, the first item is old business.
Okay. All right, just going over old business from last month. Most of our members were finishing up training in November, December. Lieutenant Charest, she just has started paramedic school through New England EMS Institute at Elliott Hospital. Her program runs around 16 months, 1,200 hours long, with a extra almost 350 hours of hospital time and 3 hours of field internship ride time with a service. Our open house was held on October 11th. Turnout was sparse, but was an awesome job done by all the employees and members. We had a blackout maze, some live fire demonstrations, some free hot dogs, and we look forward to doing it again next year, and maybe at an earlier time or change the date or whatever. I attended the New England Association of Chiefs Expo down in Mohegan Sun. I attended 2 classes down there, one with on lithium battery charging stations, and the other on solar panel safety. Talked to some vehicle manufacturers down there about the engine, and that we were going to be speccing something out for the upcoming year, and most are about 28 months out now for a process for building an engine. Talked about like to send 2 people to the State New Hampshire Fire Academy instructors class to become instructors for the state. And that would help us out with our training right at the station. And the Firewards approved the fire warden application to be sent to the selectmen for their signature. Old business on apparatus. Ambulance 2 went up to highway to get the ABS sensors replaced. Thank you, Jason, for the quick work up there. All our apparatus has been inspected and is good for another year, with the exception of engine 1. On-spot tire chains have been removed. They're going through. They're going to be serviced for the winter. Get those ready. Vehicles continue to be oil undercoated to help reduce corrosion, and that's all just budget dependent. Ambulance 1 was still running good as of 10/16/23, but still no bill from Hillsborough Ford. They were contacted and they were working on it today. I contacted Al Hooper, who is our building our ambulance that was spec'd out in 2021 and was on the warrant article for 2022 and passed. In March of 2022, it was ordered. He stated that the ambulance chassis has not yet arrived and is supposed to be there in February of 24, and then 210 days out from there. So we're looking at November 24 for delivery. The station, going to be looking into vent cleaning at the station. It may be grant funded. 10 SCBA bottles have been ordered as it was approved by the selectmen. It'll be through Fire Tech and Safety, $11,000 total for the cylinders. That will bring our packs up to compliant that we have. So keep us out of the weeds for probably another 5 years or so. All out-of-date non-serviceable equipment is sent to the White Farm for auction. That's going to take place October 21st. That was approved through the selectmen. Engine 1 will be decommissioned and drained and winterized. And Lieutenant Meady will be cleaning of our hot water heater down at the station to save some money. And the EOP emergency operation plan for the town has been agreed upon to update, and we're still waiting on some quotes for $2,700 out of the emergency management budget, and that is via the selectmen because they oversee that. That is the end of our old business.
A question.
Absolutely.
Just on the last one. So the emergency operation plan, what's the expenditure for?
$2,700.
Yeah, what's it for?
The emergency operation plan is a plan that the town, we basically have to have, and it's in case of larger disasters or something happens, a major incident happens in the town. And basically, to sum it up, I guess like it's a giant pre-plan of people who you notify, agencies, what department is going to be doing what in the heat of the moment type thing. So it encompasses the selectman's office, the police department, the highway department, health and human services here, the state, for us like the dam bureau, and things like that. It is supposed to be updated every 10 years. Ours was from 1998. So it was way, 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 way out of date. It was so out of date that, which I'll get into the new business, but since you brought it up, they wanted to see what our old one was, and when I said it was from 1998, they laughed and they said, don't even bother sending it down, we'll just start fresh and just not even worry about anything that's in that one.
So,
And that comes out of the emergency management budget, which is not related to the Board of Firewards, it's on the selectmen side.
Sure.
So that's why I had to get the 3 quotes for them on that.
what were the quotes for?
To do this report, to do it, to pay someone to do
Gotcha.
they do all the research, and there's gonna be multiple meetings that will happen along the way with via Zoom or a couple in person, that it's gonna incorporate, again, the selectman's office, the police department, highway department, state agencies and things like that,
Okay,
fire
So it's
department.
like consultant that's.
Correct, and
helping.
then they'll make or combine everything in and give us a plan, to go by in case, we ever have any larger catastrophic incident that happens in town.
Very good, thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else?
Mark, you might want to just mention that you need to have it updated if you want to apply for any grant money.
Yeah, I mean, that was another huge thing too, was like the police department, they were trying to apply for grants and anything that's federal. And federal, they take a look at this to see if your plan is up to date. And clearly ours was way out, so, there was grants that are held up because of that, because we don't have this plan in place.
All right, any other questions, comments? Let's move on to new business.
Okay, new business. So I'll start with personnel again. So members have finished up their training at the fire academy. Lieutenant Waymini finished up as firefighter 2. Carolyn Abbott, which was our secretary, she finished up recruit school, attaining her fire level 1, level 2, along with her hazardous materials operations and a fire ground survival class. She also passed the state CPAT test. And Caroline has decided to take the vacancy that was opened by one of our members that was deployed to the military. So she'll be starting with Lieutenant Meady on the 26th of this month. She'll be going through the driver operator program with the lieutenant and getting checked off on the trucks as she is on shift. The other 3 members will be finishing up mid-December with a EMTA class. They're going along good with that, so after they finish up that, it'll just be testing, probably sometime in January, I would imagine that they'll figure out and pass that. Lieutenant Charest is just finishing up her cardiology in her paramedic class. I mean, as I said before, she has a long haul. But she stated to me that she's going to be starting her clinical time soon. Again, that's about 350 hours worth of clinical time that she has to do in the hospital and rotate through the different departments in the hospital. A couple of call members. Andy Wheeler will be finishing up Firefighter 1 soon, and he also plans on taking CPAT in the spring. I didn't mention Jan, but Jan is also finished up level 2 with the lieutenant. He is currently employed with another fire department, but still on our call force. And we're working on a couple of new members for the call department. And I hopefully will talk about that in the next upcoming months that we'll be adding to our call force. Apparatus, moving on to that for new business. The last of the on-spot tire chains are being installed. Thank you to the lieutenant here and Jason Highway. A couple of them needed some bearings or whatever, so we got those replaced in-house. A bill for A1 was finally processed for $6,753.55. That was through Hillsborough Ford. That was the bill for ambulance 1, the turbo, that was the turbo job from, that was projected to be $6,800, so at least it was under. I expect to hear from Donovan Equipment soon on the body. They were like mid-December, like the first or second week in December. The body was supposed to show up down there. So the new pickup will be heading down there to get that installed. And then it'll come back and it'll have to be upfitted with the radios and lighting package and lettering and everything else like that. So it's going to take a little while. I would imagine probably sometime into end of January really before it's totally all set, like ready to go. Ambulance chassis was on track for February 2024 delivery. But most likely now it's going to be later due to the strike at Ford. So possibly we're looking at July or August delivery date now of our chassis. So we're going to push us well into 2025 now, the ambulance that we ordered in 2022. So we're clicking right along with that one. Still working on quotes for the new engine. I have 4 vendors that are working on designs and some pricing. And once we get a general price back, I will have a truck committee from the department, from the members of the department, kind of get together and they could go over all the quotes and go over the stuff that's on there and pick it apart and see what they want to do with that. Again, that's anywhere now, 28, I've been hearing 35, 36 months out. So 3 years to build an engine. So if we get it, I might not even be here to see it. Engine 1 is being stripped at the South Station. The equipment's been taken off it. The engine will be winterized and the truck will be winterized and buttoned up and placed up at DPW off to the side till spring. The spring auction or trade in on the new engine. So, excuse me, that'll be up to, I guess, if we find a vendor who we're going to be purchasing the new engine, if that does pass, and we're purchasing the new engine from, we can have them come take a look at engine 1 and see how much they're going to give us for it on a trade-in versus waiting till the spring and sending it down to the White Farm for auction purposes down there. But that'll be up to the Board of Selectmen by that time. So they'll figure out what they want to do with that. And we're going to be relocating the boat and the trailer. Once we get a little ice there, that'll be all relocated up to the Sugar Hill Station for the winter. that used to have engine one in it, but we will get that to make some more bay space down at Center Station. No, I'm sorry, any questions on that before I move on to the next? And I didn't ask about that on personnel either, so I'm sorry. Anything? Good, okay. Fire station. Went to the selectmen's meeting, the go-ahead was given to Armstrong Company for the duct cleaning for the safety complex, that's the entire safety complex. They had the lowest of the 3 bids. I had talked to them, and the soonest they could get us on the docket would be January 24th and 25th. They believe it's gonna take 2 days, at least 2 days, to do the entire complex. They're gonna be coming out before that to do the site survey. They did the site survey years ago, and we never followed through and never got them cleaned, but they wanna come back out again just to make sure everything is up to snuff on that end, and they know what they're getting into. And this was grant-funded ARPA, is that correct, Naomi? ARPA funds. So, which was good, the COVID funds, so it was grant-funded, so that's good, and it was approved by the selectmen. We got our 10 new SCBA bottles arrived the other day. They're gonna be put into service soon. They just have to be labeled and tagged and serial numbers recorded and stuff like that, and then those will get into service. The items were, from the auction were sent to the White Farm, and a check for $634.50 was sent to the town. That's what after the auctioneer took their premium for it, that's what the rest of the money came back to the town. And, EOP is the mapping and planning solutions. That's who's doing the emergency operation plan, which we just talked about. And again, like I said, the material that we have is so old that they don't even want really to see it at all. And one thing that's not on your thing that I thought of afterwards, we used to belong to Sauhegan Mutual Aid Company, or the fire down there, the Mutual Aid Compact rather, when we were through Goffstown, and that meant that we would get, if we ever had any kind of hazardous materials incident happen in the town of Ware, we would get, the city of Nashua would come up with an engine, they would come up with their hazmat people, and everything else like that. That contract, after talking to Chief Hunter over in Bedford, we decided that that was like an extra $1,500 a year, and we decided, well, talking to him, I decided not to reapply for that contract. The reason being is now that we're in capital, we have all of our hazardous materials response team is right out of Concord. So instead of getting it from Nashua, we're getting it from Concord. There is a portion of Sauhegan, though, that I did think that we should keep, and that was the mutual aid from those towns, or anything training-wise, and this is a year, was $55. The phone bank, unless in case we have a big incident, the phone bank is $25 a year, and our swift water response was $75. And one of the reasons why I kept the swift water response, although we'd probably get that out of Concord, is that they offer a lot more training usually than we do, and we're gonna be able to get a discount on that training and have dibs in on that training, if we want to send someone there. So that total for the year was $155 versus the almost 2,000 something. So we won't be participating for the hazardous thing, but all that is gonna be covered by capital area now, with their response. Questions, comments, concerns?
All right,
Sounds like a good deal on the, see if you can mutual aid.
Yeah, I think it is, because if we need foam, we're not gonna, the foam bank, I'd rather pay $25 than have to buy buckets of foam off of somebody, so between Concord and them, we're gonna have a, decent amount for $25, it's cheap insurance. All right, moving on to the budget, if that's okay, I just wanna go over that. We'll go right to the last page, because that's where the rubber meets the road. As of, the other day, 11/20, so November 20th, we are down to 12.98% left of the budget, which is roughly $152,319. We're over on a lot of things. There has been no really spending unless it's on anything that's emergent. If you flip to the next page, Beth has done a department forecast for our forecast for budget, and the top portion is, that's where I would just say go down to the amount remaining. That is how close we are. So at the end of the year, we should have 2,887.41, which is 0.25 of 1% of our budget left. Now, if you see up top, underneath vehicle fuel, it says vehicle maintenance 4,000, required testing 4,700. Right now, I'm crossing my fingers that vehicle maintenance, I don't really foresee anything, unless something happens in the next month. I don't foresee anything happening with that. And the required testing of the 4793, that would be like ladder testing, hose testing, that type of stuff. I am going to hold off on doing anything with that until like the last week in December. And then if there's, because that's so close on budget wise that, all it takes is like, especially we got the weather coming in and, the overtime line to be a little bit more or whatever. And that can skew stuff majorly one way or another. So I'm really holding off on doing anything at all. The safety / medical gear, that's stuff that we do not get from Concord Hospital, that we buy ourselves through like Boundtree or to keep our ambulance up to snuff. And Captain Hood has done a great job as far as limiting the stuff that she needs, just absolutely what she needs to buy right now. So, but that's Beth's estimates, and I'm hoping to stick with those as close as we can. And that includes, as you can see, that includes all our payroll, our life insurance, telephone, internet, the stuff that contracts, the stuff that we really don't have any, I can't really sway from that stuff. We have to have those, so, and fuel, vehicle fuel. And so she just put that stuff in there. But again, the maintenance, vehicle maintenance, required testing, and safety medical gear are the three line items really now that I have like control over. And again, we are going to be spending none of those moving forward until we get to the very end of the year. If there's anything left over, then we have a lot of stuff to purchase, but we'll have to do it on a necessity or what has to be replaced first. 0.25 of 1%. Pretty good for all we did this year. Questions? Besides, that's a lot of money, and where did it all go? Okay.
all right.
Next page is just our summary of services, the vehicles, kind of self-explanatory. The ambulance bill did not make it into this one. As you see, just because it wasn't processed. As a matter of fact, I want to say that the check is in the manifest here, to go to Hillsborough Ford. So that will be in there, next month when you guys get the report. And that will better reflect our overall, cost of vehicles throughout the course of the year. So we'll probably be in the $20,000 range for our cost.
I have a quick question
Sure.
while we're at ambulances,
Yep.
before I forget. Do you know about what the current mileage is on both of those vehicles? I'm not trying to pin you down, I should have asked before, but,
I want to say ambulance 1 is over 100,000.
Yep.
And ambulance 2, the Kodiak, the Chevy, is just under. I want to say that one was like 95, 94?
95, 96.
90, yeah, something like that. It's under. The older ambulance is actually under, and the newer ambulance is over 100,000. And I would suspect if we're going to be looking at, honestly, I foresee that new ambulance pulling in here maybe this time next year,
Yeah.
or January, February.
That's
So
what
we
I
have, we have a long time to go with those two ambulances to do something.
well, and that, my concern is that making it to that point, but also moving forward, now we've got 2 ambulances that are gonna be pretty well worn out already. So, when's our next projected purchase for an ambulance? After this one?
So,
you know?
so
Or are we gonna try to get one before this one comes in? You know, or at least get it approved, because,
our next projected purchase through CIP is to approve it in 2027. So what I'm planning on doing is, and this is what it was recommended that I do, is to right now through Hooper, if that's where we're kind of happy with getting our ambulance through, right now, order a chassis. There's no obligation to the town. There's no paperwork. There's no nothing. They just put a placeholder on it. So back in Ford, where that stuff is, it's paperwork right now, our name is gonna be paperclipped to a VIN number that's 3 years away from being built, basically. And that way there, when 2027 rolls around, we have a chassis that's pretty close to either being manufactured or is already at the place to be, our body to be built on it. Because it's just taking so long to build the chassis. So if we want to spec out a 4-wheel drive gas Ford chassis, I would recommend that we do that and call and say put a hold on one for us. Now, when I talk to Hooper, naturally, if say we decide to go with a different vendor, correct? Say we decide to go with somebody else besides that. He said, no worries, because it's like you have one chassis and there's 1,000 people just milling around waiting for the one chassis to be like, oh, we don't want to do that anymore. So it's that chassis will be spoken for 100 times over. So that's why there's no paperwork, there's no deposit, there's no nothing involved with it. It's just you calling up and saying, I want a chassis. So, and in the future, that's what he's recommending, is when you get an ambulance, order a chassis. Because by the time the chassis arrives and gets there, you're at your 4-year spread, 3-4 year spread, and then another 210 days to build it. and upfit it and everything like that, you're talking almost, that's what you have to do, so. I don't know if that answers your question or not, but 2027 is the CIP date. Now, keep in mind, when we put 2027, we expect it to have an ambulance
Right.
like now, maybe, and then we found out that it was gonna be February, and now with the strike, it might be August. So, I can't, I wish I could pin that down better, but I can't. Cause they can't. And they have no one saw the strike thing coming and how long that was gonna last or what it was gonna affect, who knows?
Okay.
You know, the ripple effect of
Yeah,
that.
thanks. Well, that was, what I'm thinking is that if we're getting into this pattern of waiting, things are gonna be pretty worn out. Not only before we get to this one, but then what's gonna happen with the next one, it's almost like snowballing,
Correct.
so.
Well, that was a concern of mine, is that we have two ambulances that pretty much, you almost wanna say have the same mileage. They might not be the same year. They're definitely not the same year, but they have the same mileage on them. And actually, once we get the new ambulance, you know, those ambulances are gonna be up there in mileage. And now heading into winter, we primarily use ambulance one, unfortunately, the one that has the mileage on it, because it's four-wheel drive, you know, to get around and stuff like that. So we primarily use that one and then go out with the Chevy, you know, as needed.
Thank you, Sergeant.
Nope,
Plan.
nope. Any other questions on the service thing? Nope. All right, the next page, is there just for you guys. It's our account balances that we have. You know, our special revenue fund, you guys could read that. I'm not gonna go over numbers or anything else like that. Our ending balance is there, the 479. Now, the 479, that was supposed to be a lot less because we were buying an ambulance out of that, but clearly that's not happened yet, so. And I'm not even sure,
It's reflected in here though.
what's that?
The 350 withdrawal is reflected in January for the ambulance.
Oh, yes, expenses, yes, it was. Yep, I'm sorry, it was.
That's good.
Yeah, this is better than you think.
Maybe we'll
So
have
that
enough
will-
for the next ambulance.
Yeah, that will continue to grow. And with that being said, just so you guys know, that the last ambulance we did, I believe, was, either 325 or 350. I don't have that in front of me right now. But the 2027, CIP for that is 450,000 for an ambulance now. And that's been the estimate that I've been getting from the ambulance companies. And that itself might even be too low by the time we get to 2027 because of the new emission standard that's gonna be coming out that's affecting everything from fire trucks to ambulances to everything, so.
Is that a federal standard?
That is,
Commercial vehicles?
yep,
Okay.
Nope.
yep.
It's gonna probably affect pretty much.
2027 for engines, for a fire engine, the manufacturers are saying automatically to any kind of quote you ever got, add $145,000 to $150,000 to the quote because of the added emissions equipment that's gonna be placed on the truck, and all the way down to soy-based wiring covering to different kind,
So
no,
that's-
I'm serious. It's all
yeah.
trying to get environmentally friendly, quote unquote, with all the stuff with the manufacturing. So everything is, they're going more green with it, and with that, it's just more money, so.
I think they're doing that with pickup trucks, cars, they're doing all that silliness, we'll call it.
Okay, Any questions? I'm sorry. Any questions on that? Like I said, you guys could go through that. That's more just to give you a running tally of what everything is and where.
Sweet. Cool.
Okay. So if you want, we could move on to the proposed budget for 2024. And I gave you guys the budget. You've had it for a couple of months to kind of go through and pick through it and see what you think. And I am here to answer any question that you possibly can have on that. And I will try my hardest to answer it. Chief Olson and myself, before he left, we went through this line by line, and we're basically, we're transitioning a lot from a call department to a full-time department, right? We have people there 24/7, 365 now. So a lot of these line items, have gone up because of that. Also, line items have gone up because multiple areas I am trying to incorporate, instead of having these huge purchases, like the one coming up, there was a capital reserve next year for portables for $95,000. Well, instead of doing the $95,000, hopefully if this budget passes, I will be buying 2 portables every year. So everything is kind of just incorporated into my budget instead of having these huge expenditures that we have to take care of. So we're still taking just little bites, I guess, instead of taking one big bite at a time. Especially since the price of the vehicles is going up so much. We need all that money we can in the CIP to cover the cost of the engine, the ambulances, so. In the end, it was you could see it there in the overall budget. 55,442 increase, which equates to 4.6% over the default budget.
And that includes this,
No, that does not.
Okay.
That does not. Does not include any of the wage study that we're gonna get into or anything like that. This is just the line items that you see there.
I have a question.
Absolutely.
Line 334A, professional development. Is this for the ongoing trainings every month that everyone's receiving?
334.
A,
Yep.
fire professional development.
Okay, so the fire professional development, that is for me. That is for any classes for my professional development as a fire chief for the town. I don't know if that line item I had Beth add that in there for me. And I could go, the town does offer a reimbursement for our education if we go and pass our class and stuff like that, and we gain, we attain a certain percentage for our grade. They'll reimburse us for the class anyways. So, but I just put that in there for, again, for myself, for classes that I may need to take as a fire chief.
So significant increase in line 339, the cistern repair, maintenance, water holes.
Correct.
Everything's getting more expensive, but, is that just because there's some maintenance that hasn't been? Because it looks like it's steadily built up, you know.
Yeah, that got cut last year, I think, and our cisterns, we have over 30 of them now in town, and we go out and we test them at least once a year, each one, and there is maintenance that we have to do on those. One of them is like, one thing we look for is like the manhole covers, the steel covers. Some of those are fiberglass, they're cracked. The pipes are starting to rust now, the actual physical big, large pipes that we pump the water out of. And all of those need to they have to be addressed, or we're gonna end up you're gonna end up replacing pieces and having to dig up the tanks and start replacing, and that's gonna be more than $5,000 to just do one of them, and we have 30 of them that we have to keep painting. A lot of them are gonna need, which is gonna end up being on a probably getting a bid process or something, but a lot of them are gonna probably need to be sandblasted down and then start fresh and repaint them again, and keep putting the money towards them to try to get them all up to where they're safe. I mean, anything that's hugely missing now would be like hasps to like keep lock, because they're all under lock and key. They actually have a bar going across the top of the lid with a fire department padlock on it. And some of those, the bars are missing and stuff like that. So all of that has to be on-site welded back onto the steel ring around that, so. But one of those covers, you couldn't buy one of those covers for the $500. So, and so that's the increase for the line.
Do you really think that you're gonna need $52,000 in call force and per diem wages?
That's gonna stay in there for now, because I don't know. I don't know. And
Which one's that?
I can't put
52 total.
a finger on that. That's all dependent on what happens. I plan on, trying to staff during the week and the weekends, putting on, a per diem member or a call member on to help out with the calls. And that's where that money is going to be drawn from. But again, hopefully we'll have a couple more call firefighters coming on here, We're working on that. That's in the process. So,
In that same vein, I was looking at the overtime, and it's not increased in your, proposed budget from what the default budget would be. And I forget where it was, where is it? Overtime, 315 is the line. And it's only up about 4,000, and I was just wondering if you see there being some relief on that.
absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely, good question. So, we decided not to increase at all. This year, we encountered a tremendous, as you could tell by the budget and the previous sheets, that were well over. But we had a large amount of people going to training that had to be covered. And that's where that overtime was incurred, was doing that, sending the people out for training. I don't anticipate having that many people, in that training realm next year. So we should be pretty good. We should be pretty good with the overtime that we have there. I don't anticipate anything being too crazy with that. So that's why we kept it the way it was, or the way it is.
and I have another question. So,
Shoot.
and then if, say, you end up with unanticipated overtime, but we didn't build up the call force like you are hoping, or it might, then would that payroll be accessible for that?
Correct, yeah, it's a bottom line budget, so all that money would be moved, wherever it needed to be moved to.
So it's probably a good thing to have that cushion.
Buffer somewhere.
How about the software support? Can you tell us about that?
What line?
It's on the back page, 347.
347? Okay, so Image Trend and Slate is a software it's a software added component to Image Trend, Slate is. And what Slate does is it's all the scheduling and payroll. Right now we do payroll. The way we do it is severely antiquated. Pretty much we write it on a sheet of paper and turn it in. Okay? Everyone tracks their hours. It's basically automated, and everyone, as far as like filling shifts go and everything, it's just a lot easier. Captain Hood is the one who does scheduling now, and it's just a nightmare when it comes time to do scheduling. So this incorporates actually a company that we're already using now through the state of New Hampshire, who we don't pay for it, so this would be an added component to that, but all our employees are already so used to using Image Trend on doing their EMS and fire reports and everything else like that. This is just another component that would take up that. Now, we currently use EMS Manager, and our contract, I believe, is good and ends in, I want to say, March, I think. So if
So-
this,
If this will this take place of that contract?
correct. And so pretty much what this does, it combines everything into one item instead of doing some things on Image Trend, then we're doing some things on the EMS Manager, and then we're doing payroll through just an Excel spreadsheet, and this combines everything into one thing and makes it a lot more automated and easier for everybody, including Beth, when it comes to our payroll and stuff.
So is Hantevi included in the line 341, the EMS service contract?
340, oh, let me go back. 340,
That's the only subscription service we have, right?
Contracts,
Minutes,
Straker, oh, that's like the
Straker.
Lucas, the,
Right.
yeah, that,
Life pack and all that, but, I just didn't know where that one.
the hand heavy is included, but I'm not sure. I'd have to honestly look into more of that to see if that was in that, but the hand heavy is something that we plan on keeping,
Yep.
for sure.
that
But
is
I'm not
back
sure
line
if that was
contract.
under that or,
It's not software.
it might be under the software, honestly. It might be under the software. Because basically that's what that is.
Yeah.
Whereas the other one, that's, that you were talking about, that is all our cardiac monitors, the maintenance is done on those, the, stretchers and all that other stuff, Stryker comes out and they do maintenance on
So that's physical.
all of that, the physio control. They do all that maintenance, we don't, we have maintenance contracts for that they come out and give us updates on that stuff, and, they actually give us like new batteries and stuff if we need them, instead of buying them, they're right through the contract, and,
Cool, thank you. Makes sense.
So is the contract that we wouldn't have to renew with EMS manager?
Yep.
Accounted for in that line item for software?
yeah, that would be essentially eliminated.
Okay, so we'd have a little excess.
So
in
there
that
would be
case.
a little excess in there, yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Do you know how much that contract is?
I wanna say that it was $5,200 a year. And that's, I looked into that, but it was probably the first month, Chief Olson was here, when we were looking into trying to combine everything into one software. I don't know if that's changed. I can't imagine it changed that much, but, and I could tell you that, like, our iPads and stuff like that, that's a whole nother thing. Our iPads are, we have those, we use them all the time, and they're getting, they really, there was no replacement, procedure for them. So, like, our iPads are 3 years old, 3, 4, and they just get beat. I have one in the cruiser, and it fully charged, I have 40 minutes, literally 40 minutes to do whatever I need to do with that thing, even plugged in, before it goes dead. And I bring it in every night so it stays warm before we bring it out every morning. And it's just not, they're not worth putting like a battery in. I checked in Batteries Plus, and it's like $130 to put a battery in an old iPad. It's just, it's not worth it anymore to do it, so. And the iPad's like 5 years old, so. But again, that is stuff that if the budget passes, that every year, if we buy an iPad, 2 iPads a year, whatever, all that stuff could be kind of filtered down through the apparatus. I mean, I don't mind having an iPad in the cruiser that's 3 years old, but having one that's 3 years old in the ambulance where it's being used every day for our checks and calls and everything else like that, that's a different story, you know? So I'm hoping just to merge it right into the budget, and then there's not a huge expenditure for them.
I have another question.
Shoot.
So, and I'm gonna be gentle about it.
Oh, you don't have to. What line number you on?
353.
353?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know that the board approved to reimburse for physicals. Now seeing it here in the budget, I'm having second thoughts. And just because it's such a drastic increase, and I would assume that annual physicals are covered by the insurance that
Health insurance?
everyone is
Okay,
receiving.
so, good question, good question. We do, our physicals are covered under our regular health insurance that we have. These are not regular physicals, these are NFPA physicals.
You told me that last time. That's right.
Yeah, that the employees would be sent to occupational health in Concord
Right.
and get screened for an NFPA physical, which is a little bit more rigorous than your regular physical that you would have at your doctor, because there's certain parameters that they go by. And this is also, that also included, and I want to say it was around, I think it was just a touch under $800 a person. And that also included a blood test for cancer screening too, which is huge in the fire service, so that would be a huge benefit for us. But that's above and beyond. I mean, if someone wants to still get their physical through their regular doctor, they can. But it's not
gonna get that
an NFPA physical that touches on all the areas that does.
One of the big components of that is lung function test.
Correct, it's all,
You want a
you know,
machine
respiratory and stuff that,
compared to like last year and stuff.
you know, hearing test. They usually do like a 12 lead. They do chest x-rays and stuff like that. So it's really comprehensive for us, and it's all, again, through occupational health in Concord.
So, do we know if the health insurance wouldn't cover those additional things? Because I get my, like I just went today and got a quantiferin gold lab draw for my nursing license. I have to get it for my job every year, which is the TB test.
Yep.
So I just, it's not like clinically indicated, you know, by my condition. So like my doctor doesn't just order it on her own. But I ask her and I say, can you order me this test? I need it for work.
Yep.
And so she'll do it. Is that something are those tests something that you can just get your referrals and your orders from?
I
your
mean,
primary doctor?
I can ask, but I don't think so. And the reason why I say I don't think so is we had a call member who went through NFPA physical, had a problem with the respiratory portion of it, and they were sent to a respiratory place to have that done, that just does respiratory stuff, because the test was more finite for them. And it basically cost the town $2,500 or $2,700 just to send them there to do that.
Okay.
I
So
mean,
that
I
was
could-
not covered by their insurance.
And that was not covered by their insurance, so I could certainly ask. I think if it was maybe like a blood test or blood draw or something like that, but when you start going into, you know, your chest x-ray, you don't get that in a normal, on your everyday physical for your doctor. Usually don't get a hearing test, definitely don't get a 12 lead, you know, EKG that's sent to a cardiologist for them to take a look at. You know, usually get like your basic, you know, maybe eyesight or whatever, and your basic lab panel that they would pull anywhere.
Sure.
But the extra, I mean, I can certainly ask that question, but
Yeah. Or
it's,
if they can
a
even-
lot of doctors don't do an NFPA physical, because you say NFPA and they're like, yeah, what's that? They don't have any clue what it is. And
Even if
that's,
some of the pieces that aren't covered, can you get those like à la carte at the occupational health center? Like, can you get, if you got the rest through your doctor, but you couldn't get the 12 lead EKG?
oh, for
go
sure,
and
for
get that
sure,
piece?
for sure.
Okay.
Yes, they, Concord Hospital, the occupational health actually sent over a list that they do, and yes, it's absolutely à la carte. You can do that. So if a member has their doctor and their doctor is willing to sign off on an NFPA physical that they did that, and they just need to go do the x-ray or the, let's say just the hearing test or something like that, then absolutely, then we can just send them up to occupational health just for that one thing or two things or whatever they need to do to finish that out. And I do have that, I do not have that list with me, but I do have that from occupational health.
Sure. Okay. I'm just thinking if some of it is covered by insurance, maybe we can, you know, bring it down the amount there if possible. Cause like, before they had the quantiferin gold, I always came up positive on the TB skin test. So I would have to go and get a chest x-ray, and that was covered by my insurance. So you'd be surprised as far as occupational stuff, what insurance, some insurances will cover.
Yeah, I think it'll be probably up to whoever, what your doctor is comfortable doing. I mean, if your doctor's comfortable doing a NFPA physical and they say, yeah, we're gonna send you for a chest x-ray, but the chest x-rays are normally, it's you had a positive result, so you had to go get a chest x-ray. Our chest x-rays are, we're hoping you have no result. They're just to have on file to say you're clear and you're good. So there's no really reason to send you there. There's no like result that came back that said, oh my God, you need to go get a chest x-ray. We're gonna send you for one. So I don't know with insurance companies nowadays with not paying, that basically if, that'd be like me walking into my doctor and saying, yeah, I want a chest x-ray for what? Because I want one. I don't know if the doc would do that or not. But again, that's certainly, if we could do that and knock some of the cost off of it and be absorbed by the insurance that people are already paying for, that we're paying for already, absolutely. I mean, that would be definitely a way to save some money.
All right, let's move on. Any more questions or comments? Okay.
Anything?
I think we're good.
Okay. All right.
So this is the budget that you're gonna propose?
Correct. Yes. Yep.
Okay. You wanna vote on that?
Absolutely.
All right. I'll make a motion that we vote to approve this proposed 2024 budget to move forward in the budget process.
I will second that motion.
Any further discussion or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Okay, chief.
All right. Thank you.
Is that
Appreciate
it?
that. That for the budget.
Okay.
You're not getting out of there that easy.
So we're still in new business?
New,
I thought we were almost done.
no.
Okay.
So, one of the sheets you have in front of you is a, standard operating procedure and guidelines. And the purpose of this was to establish an education incentive, for education directly related to employees' nature, scope of duties as permitted by the fire chief. And this is for people who have a degree. This is more, I'm not sure how many people on our department have a degree. I'd imagine maybe a handful of us have a degree. But it's more or less, it's another thing to help attract when we go out to hire someone. This is in line pretty much with the police department. But wasn't really following them, but looking around and looking at other departments, it would be added to their wage, and for like an associate's degree, you see there it's 25 cents an hour. For a bachelor's degree, it's 50 cents an hour, and a master's degree, it's 75 cents an hour. that would just be added to the person's pay. The degree has to be approved. Again, it has to be something that is, towards your, towards the fire service. We've all heard before, underwater basket weaving, and if you're, and nothing against people who underwater basket weave, but people who have a master's degree in that, they would not be eligible for the 75 cents added to their pay an hour because it doesn't have anything to do with firefighting. So, it's just another incentive, and they would have to have their original degree in hand to be verified, and then it would be sent over to the town office and put in their file. It's not retroactive, so if you have it, it's not like we're gonna pay you 5 years back or anything. Just a little added benefit. Didn't know what your thoughts were on that. Again, I cannot tell you because I did not take a vote or a survey on how many people in the department right now have degrees. I would say maybe half of us do. I don't know, to be honest with you.
Question?
Absolutely.
So it's, it's 25 cents for associate's degree, and then it's like not cumulative. So if you earned your associates and then you went on to your bachelor, it would be another 25 cents up? Okay.
Correct.
So is this like a town-wide policy or just the police department?
I don't know if it's town-wide or not. I know the PD does have something in place for their folks, but I don't know what their amounts of money are for that. This is just, like I said, I did some research with other fire departments that give incentives for that, and a lot of departments will do $1,000 for an associate's degree, $1,500 for a bachelor's, and $2,000 for a master's degree. But I just broke it down because a lot of the other departments I looked at were just basically the 25, 50, and 75 cents. That was an even number, I guess, to go through for the education part.
So is this, if we approve this, is that money in your budget? So you don't really know how much you're gonna need?
I cannot see this being a breaking the bank in the grand scheme of things.
Well, I think it's important to know where we stand with it.
Well, if we move on to the other budget portion, then there will be money in there for that. But I did not, and if you want to table it, I could certainly ask Beth and find out from the department who has a degree, but I mean, that's all gonna be fluid, this could pass and I can hire someone a week from today that has a master's degree and they walk in fire science or emergency management, and I gotta pay him 75 cents an hour, and I don't know where that money's gonna come from either, so it's super fluid, but we could probably get a good handle on it,
Like to-
where we stand right now. Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
I could do that. We could table it. It's fine.
All right, I'll make a motion that we table that until we get more information.
Okay.
So second, Leah, you second, okay. Any more discussion? All those in favor of tabling? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. Okay, motion carries.
Okay. Moving on to the next one that you have in front of you. Back, about a month ago, or a couple months ago, actually, because I've been at this now for about 2 months now. Chief Olson, right before we left, we had, you guys approved the military leave, which you have a copy of the original one on the top, okay? And we had our employee get deployed, and it was brought up, and there was a lot of holes, I guess, in this that were, I don't think we ever, like, looked at or discussed, or, one was, I guess the intent, let me tell you what the intent was, because I called Chief Olson and I asked him. And the intent of this was when the person got deployed, that, say, just for saying it, they end on October 31st as their last day working for the town, and then they get deployed. For the next 15 days in their, whenever, if you marched out their schedule for the next 15 days, they would be paid for that time, okay? Even though they're not working, they're deployed, they're getting paid by the military wherever they are, they would be getting paid for the 15 days. I myself, that's not how this is written, and I was under the assumption, for me, how I read it, or how I understood it, was if you're in the reserves, you're in the military, you do your 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks during the course of the year. If you work, the town is only obligated to give you that time off. If you're working on that day, that's the only thing the town is obligated to say, we'll cover you for your drill day, you go on your drill day. What I thought this was you go on your drill day and we will pay you for your day that you're working. If you're scheduled to work, say you're working on a Saturday and you have drill on a Saturday, you go off the drill, we still pay you for your day. There was nowhere in this policy that described what a day was. Is a day 8 hours? Is it 10 hours? Is it 12 hours? Is it 24 hours? In thinking about it, as much as I would love to say, I would love to pay someone who's been deployed, because we certainly appreciate our men and women in the military, paying someone for 15 days, a 24-hour, basically their day's pay, I was honestly worried about what happens if we hire 2 more people that are in the military. And, I mean, this is like a perk now that we're giving these people, because we just have to give them the time off. We don't have to pay them. This is a perk we're giving them. But that's like a lot of money. I mean, I would have to increase my budget by like $25,000 just to cover military. Never mind anything else. And while if we're paying him those days, not only am I covering the military end of things, I have to pay someone overtime to work that. So now you're almost doubling that. So I rewrote the policy, because this was just it was a SOP, SOG, as it says down in the procedure there. And so the next page is mine. I'm sorry about my font, but my eyes aren't that great, so bear with me. Pretty much the purpose on the top is that's like verbatim or right out of the military code book or whatever, all right? That's the purpose. But the procedure has changed. And it pretty much says that you are the military, for your annual training periods will give you 15 10-hour days. So say the person is working on a Saturday and they have to go to weekend drill and their shift falls on Saturday. They go to drill, we give them time off, and we will pay them 10 hours of their pay will be paid to them. That will be available 15 times during the course of the year. So they go to 2 weeks worth of their obligation for the military, 2 weeks a year. They go away to do maneuvers or whatever, and say they work 4 shifts, or 4 shifts of theirs falls on those 2 weeks, then we would pay them on those days that they were supposed to work, we would pay them the 10 hours worth of their pay. They shouldn't have to use vacation time to get paid or anything else like that. Now, naturally, if they go on drill and it falls on a day that they are not working and it's their day off, then naturally they don't get paid. You know, this is only if you are working on that day and we cover you, we're gonna pay you that. So basically, this puts number one, it puts a time on it, okay? Because the other policy, again, was open-ended. There was nothing there saying that it was 8, 10, 24 hours. What were we paying them? So now this is telling you you're paying them only 10 hours. That's what we decided to pay them. And actually, that was on the advice from Beth, because pretty much everything is going on 10 hours. So that really came, I got that from Beth to instead of 12 hours or 24, she said 10. And it gives you what it is used for. So it's not to be when you're deployed, you're going to get 15 days worth of pay after that, because I don't think that would be fiscally responsible. And moving forward, I mean, I would love to pay people money to be in the military. I mean, God bless them for being there. But we just can't, I don't think that our budget can do that. Absolutely, questions, absolutely.
How about the last sentence?
Yeah, that's my question to you. Is the difference between military pay received and their regular paycheck? That's,
Town pay, provided employee furnished to town official pay. Yep, so if they are making more money than what the town is paying them, what their hourly wage is, if they furnish a pay stub to the town, then we will pay the difference in that. If they're getting paid more in the military than they are from us, then they will not get paid. And that's, I guess, pretty much standard through everything. I did talk to the police on this, and with the exception of the amount of days, I think the PD is 10 days, and we're 15, but this is pretty much almost verbatim to what they're doing over there, and what they're currently doing now, with the exception again of they have 10 days, we have 15.
so if someone's getting paid $18 an hour by the military and they would be earning $25 an hour here, we would only be paying them the 7.
Correct.
So it's not really 10 hours pay? Or is it 10 hours pay plus the difference?
Nope, it's 10 hours of
The difference.
$7
of
an hour.
of the difference, I guess.
Okay.
Maybe that should be worded different. 10 hours of
So
the
the
difference.
goal is to make sure that they're still getting the money that they would have earned on the day they
Correct.
worked.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, so,
Because we don't want them losing anything, I guess, is the point.
so knowing how this is gonna go, in your very first sentence, military leave for those employees who require a leave of absence due to training or active service. So, you said you only want to cover annual drill. It clearly says active duty.
Okay,
So
I think you should clarify that.
okay, yep, nope, that's why this is just a draft, so everyone could get their eyes on it, and,
Next, you mentioned 10 hours for the day. So if my shift is on Saturday, I will get 10 hours at the difference between. Now, my shift goes from 7 a.m. till 7 a.m. So do I get 10 hours for Saturday and 10 hours for Sunday?
no, because your shift is, your shift is your shift, you're working for 24 hours. It's not based on days, we're not going,
Well,
we're not
I
going
think that
by,
needs to be
we're
clarified.
not going by calendar days. I mean, we could clarify, anything you want to do, if you want to add that in there, that's fine. Again, this is almost verbatim to what pretty much the PD has, and they've been running this pretty much flawlessly, so I'm not saying that they're the
they don't work 24 hours.
end all, but,
That's right, you want to
They barely
clarify
work.
that it's a shift, not a day. I think it's the only.
Right.
So 10 hours of your shift, rather than 10 hours a day.
okay,
I think that's
take
better.
days out
because-
of there and put shift.
'Cause-
For our one shift, we're working 3 of theirs,
Right.
so.
Okay, anything else?
Lastly, at the official statement by military authorities, the proper term for that is leave and earnings statement.
Where are you, Lieutenant?
Very last sentence. The employee
Okay.
furnished the town an official statement by military authorities that is a leave and earnings statement.
Okay,
Is a- And that's all I have.
okay.
If those changes are made, I would,
Anything else on that? I mean, is that in kind of besides the language corrections and stuff like that? Is there any other questions, or is everyone kind of in agreeance of that? Or should I go right back to the drawing board? I was just trying to, again, the first one was so open-ended that there was absolutely nothing in there that it ever stated anything. So it was all up into whoever was reading it, how they wanted to interpret it. So I was just trying to,
It's much more clear.
yeah, just clarify it really.
Let's say, so you're gonna come back with that?
Yep, I could make absolutely, make the changes. This is just a draft. Make the changes and come back. Yep.
Okay.
Before we move on, just on the other one, the, education incentive, just a spelling error in your capitalized word original down at the bottom. You're just missing an I.
Oh, yep, okay. Okay. On to the next. Okay. So the last thing that, well, almost the last thing we'll talk about is, the new wage scale. It's been a while, since the wage scale has been adjusted for the fire department. And as you can see, on the old one, if you want to, look at that one first, and, RTE as the rescue technician, as a EMT basic. Okay, so that's a EMT basic. If someone walked through the door today, I cannot hire someone as a EMT basic for $18.48. okay? That's just, it's totally just not happening. We're never going to attract anyone that you're paying them that amount of money. And even if you, and that's under the group one, which in all fairness, we would never, we're not gonna be hiring any more group one employees. So if you wanna flip the page, in group two, that's still $20.39. I still can't hire anyone at $20.39 for a EMT walking through the door. So going by the wage scale and looking into the new wages, if you want to flip to the second page of the new wage scale, as you notice, there used to be 10 steps. There is now 7 steps. The first 3 steps were basically almost cut off because, again, when people walk through the door, if I was going to hire somebody, I have to pay them, an EMT basic is at least $24 an hour, okay, for an EMT basic. And we just needed to update the scale, and instead of having it drawn out for 10 years, you basically reach your top step in 7 years. So it closes that gap a little bit. And looking through and doing a wage study, the new wage scale is, we're not at the top, we're definitely not at the bottom, but we're right in the middle. And I was looking at area departments, and then I actually ran across, which this might be helpful for everybody. This was put out by New Hampshire Employment Security. It's New Hampshire Occupational Employment and Wages of 2023. And it breaks the state down in all different areas. And if you go to the Greater Concord area, the median wage they recommend is $23.64. So we are pretty close to what the state of New Hampshire came up with on their wage study. Again, that's to mean we're not the top, we're not the bottom, we're right in the middle. And this is going to, I would say, at least for the next couple of years, I don't know, I can't forecast the economy, but this is definitely going to put us, if we need to hire somebody, it's going to put us to be a little bit more competitive than anyone else. Because unfortunately, as much as everyone hates to say it, it's where the money is where people are going to be attracted to. And I just think that this is a fair adjustment for the wage scale.
Can you say the name of that document from Employment Security again?
You can pass that right over if you want.
My comments are, I think it's a good idea. I think instead of making it end up like how the highway department is now, and then, they're scrambling and everything like that down the line, kind of thinking ahead instead of being a reactive, being somewhat proactive in this. And who knows, in 2 years, this could be nothing, this could be a lot. Like you said, you don't know the economy, can't forecast it. But I think this is good for recruitment, retention,
Well, again,
all across the board. My only thing is, this goes through, how much is that going to impact your budget, right? Is this something that we vote on, or does this go to the voters and this is gonna be part of your budget?
so to answer that question, I honestly don't know. I don't know whether this would be some type of, like a warrant article, if this would just be put into my budget. I would think that it would just be put into the budget, into my overall budget.
Yep.
And if the budget passed, then that passes. If it doesn't pass, then I have to revert back to basically using the old chart.
Yeah.
But like if you look at this, if someone, I have this blocked off, if someone walked in the door, I'm not even gonna look at steps 1 through 4, because they don't even relate anymore to what you would pay somebody.
Yeah.
You know, so they're like, why, they're not even, they shouldn't even be there anymore.
So if we vote on this and pass it, this might be a Steve question, if we vote on this and pass it, if he gets a default budget, that will be the set rate though?
The,
Or does that have to go into the proposed?
any new money, as I understand it, has to be voted on and approved. So.
Including
and then
wages?
it's- Right.
Okay, that's what I was wondering, I didn't know.
Once it's, for, especially for wages, once it's in the budget default, then it's defaultable. But if it's new money, it has to be approved before it can be defaulted. So, I'm just wondering if, I think it's something that we need to work with the selectmen on. Do we put it in the budget, or do we go with a special warrant article? I know in the past, they've done that for employee raises. We recently did that for the highway department. We gave, that was a warrant article for a raise, I think, a couple of years ago, for a raise to try to bring them up. So that was a special warrant article. So, my personal feeling is just seeing how things go.
Which I mean, if that's what we have to do, that's what we have to do, I guess.
Well,
It would be hard to put these all on the ballot, you know what I mean, to explain.
Well, you would put, the article would be worded so that,
It'd be the total
I know
amount.
the history would be that this, basically it would be the impact with the current employees,
Okay.
right?
Correct. So I could tell you that
Want to comment on that? Okay, sure.
I could tell you that our current default budget for personnel, okay, is $938,048. Okay, and these numbers I got from Beth. The proposed, if this went through, would be $1,015,715, for a difference of $77,667, which would be a tax impact would be 4 cents per thousand, would be the tax impact on that, 4 cents per thousand. So using the $400,000 home in the town of Ware, the taxpayer would pay an extra $16.35 a year to have this wage adjustment for the fire department.
So, what are your thoughts on that? Sure. you can come up. Yeah, this is chairman of the board of selectmen, happens to be here.
Just happen to be here. Well, thank you. So, in the past, yes, you are correct, Steve. We did an article for the DPW where it was $1 an hour raise for them. I think, Chief, I don't think you're far off at all. I think the wages need to come up. You're absolutely right, to retain and to attract. So I think that the a la carte to the voters, I think, is probably the better avenue, personally. That way they can say, yes, we definitely want this. And it's going to be a sign of the times, obviously. We have to move those wages up. But aside from, because remember that year we did the DPW, we also did the 3% for the non-union, and both went through, so they got both. So I would say that, my own opinion would be definitely that would be the way to go.
So, is there, I know you're having trouble with DPW especially, and so what, because you're, the board is going through that, are you gonna be doing something like that for the DPW?
The board hasn't, the board of selectmen have not discussed it yet. Yeah, I mean, it's conversation coming up,
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay.
But yeah, we haven't discussed that.
You're already facing this.
Yeah,
situation
absolutely,
with some
yeah.
of the other departments,
Yeah,
so-
and I mean, that was my thought too, is why do it now, you know, if we can, do it now and get somewhat ahead of the game, so that way we're not facing what DPW is facing, and
Yes.
that happened in a matter of a year, two.
Yeah, year and a half or so, it all unfolded.
Yeah, again, I mean, we're not hiring anyone right now.
Mm-hmm.
We filled the one position that we had to fill, with the person being, deployed, and Caroline moving up into that position. But this is just looking ahead. I'd rather be in front of the 8 ball than behind the 8 ball, and then trying to hit a moving target. It's just, it was just time to move and get everyone up where they're supposed to be.
So when would we have to know this?
That's,
Well, we usually try to get everything wrapped up at least for the first round by the end of the year, first round of January.
First part of January.
So we could do
I
it.
think it would be worth for us, I mean, that's obviously something that, if we add this to our budget, I'm concerned about the percentage increase. And people may not understand as fully what they're voting for or against, as much as if it was split out. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, and I think too is also, you're also in the same pool of every department trying to push forward with, changes and proposals. So it's gonna be even bigger number that probably has less of a chance.
Okay, I was just gonna ask if it would be better to do it all as one.
Probably be better to do it separate.
I mean, for pages of the ballot, yes, but not probably for,
saving trees.
right, that's about probably all it'd be, so. Can I make one side comment too? Just something that sitting in the back of the room listening, is when this board disbands in March, my question to Naomi was, and we both kinda went, we don't know, is, these proposals that are being made, like the military proposal, the town doesn't have anything on books for that. So when this board sunsets, where does that leave those policies that this board has put in place moving forward to the Board of Selectmen control?
So my thought on that was it should be more on the chief's, right? It's his end, like the police chief probably doesn't come to you guys for stuff like this, right?
It's a collective bargaining.
That's in the collective bargaining,
See, they're a union.
Yeah.
right.
But that's union.
Well, what we've tried to do
Okay.
pretty
But
much.
the policies are already there the policies are already on the books, right?
Yeah.
And I understand that the 24-hour, shift rule, that right there was, because of nature of the job. So that would probably have to stand, but, at any point, it's what, all the other ones that are in there, where do those go? How do those sunset? They're not, or do they sunset? I don't know. How do they carry forward? It's just a thought, I think, that, the two boards should get together
Okay.
and try and hash this out before the sunset.
Yeah.
Just because there is so many, there's little niches for each department,
Yeah.
and that might be one of them for that transition. And again, that was just an observation as one member, but I think that I think the two boards should come together and discuss items like that and say, hey, this is why we did this. We should probably carry it on after March, so.
So, our history, I guess, is probably the best way to describe it, has been to honor the town personnel policy as best as we can, except for where our shifts, et cetera.
Correct.
Differentiate, like the 24-hour shift versus 8 hours or whatever.
The 10 hours, right.
And so we've tried to adhere pretty close to that. And I didn't realize that the town didn't have a policy on military leave, and a lot of that happens on weekends, so that may not affect
Right.
those other employees quite as much. So certainly we can talk about that.
I just think that, there's
Yeah.
little things that are fire department specific that should probably be explained so that they carry forward, and it's not, hey, this doesn't make sense, and vote it away, when you guys obviously did your part and put those forward for a reason.
Yeah,
So,
and I understand simplifying as many things as you can for the board is a good thing to do. So,
okay.
does anybody else have any comments or questions?
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, most, like, these, SOPs and guidelines, they don't sunset unless there's new action on them, correct? They
Correct.
stay.
Right, and no, I mean, the SOPs, SOGs that have been set forward, yeah, they're not, but when this board sunsets, then how does,
Oh, like pending decisions, things like that? Okay.
yeah, I mean, the military leave would be something that's outside the personnel policy only for one department. I don't know, again, not that I disagree with it, but how would that transition in March? Because it was only specific to that one department, where it's now not town-wide for all non-union employees. How would that, I don't know. That's my
Okay.
question. So, just food for thought, that's all.
Thank you. Anything else on that?
No, I mean, I like it, I just
So-
guess what avenue we wanna go through to,
Yeah, that I don't know.
do
That's-
this, I mean,
Well, I think that if we move forward, I think the question is, you know, how do we go about that? And so I think that might be an area where obviously it's gonna be coming with the other departments, that we should probably have a discussion maybe with the Board of Selectmen on that. To see what they're looking at. I know, you know, so the town administrator and the board has a lot more experience with these issues than we do.
Oh, for sure.
Because they've been living it, you know.
Yeah, and I don't,
for a long
I'm new at this, I don't,
So,
I couldn't even tell you.
He's done a similar,
yeah,
I think it's gonna have to, you know, rightfully so.
Yeah.
But I think it's probably gonna have to be a separate one.
okay.
Transparency seems to be tossed around a lot, so if you throw it out there, don't wanna be transparent, I mean, you wanna be transparent and not just put it in the proposed, cause then it can be shifted around. Let's just be, Jason's put one together for DPW,
Mhm.
so.
Okay.
We've already looked at, you know, what we're gonna do, and the police will go with theirs, cause they're collective bargaining, but, you know, the decision's gotta be made.
So, I have studied this, and I do think that it's probably, like I said, I don't think it's even near the top. I don't think it's, and I think that those departments that are probably lower than ours are probably the very small, daytime, maybe during the week only type, departments. So I think that we're definitely not overreaching as far as that goes, the wages and stuff, I think, but it makes us a little more competitive,
well, and that's the thing, is it keeps the current employees that are there,
hopefully.
hopefully,
Yeah.
to stay, you know what I mean, instead of jumping
Yeah.
ship, and hopefully that's gonna work out for the highway department too, as well.
So can we get, if we're gonna do a warrant article, we need help with that. So should we, move towards incorporating this into a warrant article aside from the budget?
Yeah.
If you're looking at me to say yes or no,
Yeah, we'll have to
Don't-
look at the
don't.
dollar amount.
'cause I don't know.
Dollar amount to see what that shift is gonna,
With FICA and retirement.
yeah, with retirement, yeah.
Well, is that included in your figure?
It would have
Aye.
to be.
I'm not sure. Beth
Okay.
gave me a default number for the current staff and what the proposal, and the difference again was 77,667.
Does she usually include those numbers in those? Yeah, okay.
So,
So,
Cool.
which equated
And do we
again
need to make a
4
motion
cents.
on this, or is this gonna be like, next meeting, we discuss doing a warrant article with
do we
this?
do we have time to do that?
Not the next meeting,
Okay, that's where I was getting to. When do we have to have this by?
So, as far as the schedule that I know of, the chief is coming with the budget on December 4th. That's all right with you?
Mhm.
I'm just wondering if that's when we kind of have a conversation, I mean, would that be appropriate as a budget?
I think it would be appropriate, yeah.
For us?
Because we had someone approach the table the other day asking us to do a warrant for the veterans.
Yeah.
And I think we're in that mindset, and when you're there for your budget, at that point, you would have a separate number for the cost of this table.
Okay,
And then we could have that discussion as a group, and you guys could attend our meeting, we could post it together.
okay. How does
Because he's
that,
gonna present his budget, which will be there.
okay, how does this board feel about that?
That's December 4th.
I'm good with that. I should be.
And in the meantime, Beth could do a number for what
Yeah,
that costs.
we'll have that number for that meeting, yeah.
Because that's what she said to Jason.
What time would the meeting be on December 4th?
6,
Yeah,
right?
6:30.
Yeah, well, we always have public comment.
Yeah, but we have
so
public comments, so
6:30,
quarter of,
Quarter of to
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock?
We'll call it 7.
Okay.
As it happens, I'm on duty that night.
I
we do
am,
need to vote on
because
this
I'm on
first to bring it to
vacation,
Board of Selectmen.
and I will be out of state, but I'm coming back on Monday. I can't remember when I'm coming back into the state, but it'll probably be in the later afternoon
We-
or
we
early
notice a
evening.
meeting.
Because your next meeting would be
We're all gonna be
December
there.
19th. as a group.
Correct, as a group here,
Okay.
yes.
So if we don't have a number, we can't really move this forward tonight.
No, I mean, you can, the consensus is to let us gather a number, and then on your meeting with the selectmen, say this is the number we've come up with for a wage pool to adjust the pay scale and share it with everybody,
And make it a warrant article.
and make it a warrant article.
Okay, so we don't have to have the actual number to make
We
the
have a
vote?
consensus tonight, we don't make moves. Your consensus is to allow him to go and get the number and present it at the
Yeah.
time he presents his budget.
Yeah, as long as you guys accept.
I mean, because you guys do warrant articles anyways, right?
We do, but if you accept that chart, then Beth has something to work with.
Okay,
That's what I mean, yeah, if the
Okay.
chart's accepted by you all.
okay.
Then there's at least something to work with.
So,
And just so you know, Beth did this. I worked with
Yeah.
Beth on this, so she's familiar with it,
Guessing
and
that number that you
Okay.
gave us probably includes all the things.
I would think so, yeah.
well,
But we'll clarify that.
I make a motion that we accept the pay chart scale,
Scale, new pay scale,
the new pay scale, and,
as presented.
as what?
Presented.
As presented, I couldn't,
He's writing.
I'm not good at this, so. As presented.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay, motion made and seconded, is there any comments or questions? Go ahead.
So, I have not, besides looking at this, I haven't gotten to see if, in fact, these wages are appropriate. It's quite a jump, and personally, I don't feel comfortable voting yes tonight, and that's my reason. It's nothing against, I don't want you guys to be making, years ago's wages forever, but I just am not informed enough to give this a yes at this time.
Well, okay, is there any other comments or questions? I mean, I know what the wage scales are for the fire service, so, it's not, like I said, it's exactly what I said before, in my opinion. Yes,
So we're calling to vote?
are we all set? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Abstain.
I'll abstain.
Okay, so we have 5 yes, 1 abstain, 1 no. All right, anything else, chief?
One last thing.
I thought the budget was the last thing. My mistake.
I'm sorry
No,
to
that was
keep
my
you.
mistake. I was cautiously optimistic that we were moving right along.
So, I think Chief Olson had talked about this, but, we're doing this now and are finally getting around to recognizing these folks. So I have here, we had a CPR save, okay, a code save, and I will just read this to you all. On the 7th of July, 2023, at 21:56 hours, Ware Fire Rescue Department was dispatched to a single-family residence on Etta Lane for a male who was unresponsive and not breathing. Staffed with a duty crew of myself and firefighter EMT Noah Brent, ambulance 2 arrived to find Lieutenant Amanda Charest performing CPR. Ware Police Corporal Michael Moose and Officer Justin Brophy arrived and set up an external automated defibrillator and defibrillated the patient twice prior to the ambulance arriving. Upon initial assessment, ambulance 2 personnel determined that the patient had regained a pulse and spontaneous circulation known as ROSC. Ambulance 2 crew, augmented by additional Ware Fire Rescue personnel, Lieutenant Wayne Meady and Lieutenant Amanda Charest, proceeded with post-ROSC care to optimize ventilations, treat potential hypotension, and assess for other cardiac-related issues. This combined effort of early and effective CPR, including defibrillation and paramedic-level advanced life support, resulted in the return of spontaneous circulation in the field and the ultimate survival and discharge of the patient. We proudly honor myself, Acting Fire Chief Mark Rourke, Firefighter EMT Noah Brent, Lieutenant Amanda Charest, Lieutenant Wayne Meady, for their commitment to the essential mission of the Ware Fire Rescue Department, which is to protect life with all courage, honor, integrity. That is the underpinning of our vocation. So these will be put into each one of their files, and one will be placed on our honor board as you walk into the station outside the offices. And if I can have Steve, if you can sign those for me, please, that would be awesome. But thank you to that crew. I did not have a chance. I was off the day the gentleman came in. As far as I know, he is still doing okay, but.
Thank you, Bob.
Good job. I got that for you.
Makes all this hard work worth it.
It certainly does, absolutely. Makes all the training and everything we go through, that's what it's all about. Thank you, sir. That is all I have.
All right, let's move right on to approval of minutes. I believe we have September 19th first.
I make a motion, we accept minutes approval for September 19th.
Motion's made, is there a second?
Yep.
Have motion second, is there any questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. I'm gonna abstain because I wasn't here for that. Okay, October 17th, we have the minutes as well for that.
Make a motion, we accept the minutes for October 17th as written.
Is there a second?
Might as well.
We have a motion, a
I was
second.
waiting
Is
for
there
her
any
to do it.
comments or questions?
Hey, Wayne.
I already seconded.
Is there any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. Okay, motion passes. We have manifest next.
Okay.
Can we do this one?
Sure.
All right, I make a motion to accept the manifest in the amount of $13,530.01 with checks payable dated 11/22/23. That's it, that's all I have.
Okay.
There's my motion.
Motion's been made, is that a
Right
second?
I
there.
will second it.
We have a second, is there any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain. Motion carries. And, did we get your fire chief's report and all that? Are we done with that?
I'm
No.
done. I said that was the last thing I
I was
had.
kinda hoping, but I didn't know. if
I
you had
didn't mean,
something.
said it was me a long, long night, so my apologies.
All right. Okay, so, I'm gonna make a motion that we go into non-public session at this time. And, when we come out of non-public session, we will immediately adjourn the meeting. I make a motion, we go in, hold on. Under, 91A:3, 2, A and C.
I'll second that motion.
Do we have to flick the light?
Now we're gonna do a roll call vote first.
Okay, so,
So close.
Naomi, do you wanna do this for us? Fill this out?
Why, so that means I gotta stay?
Oh, well, at least you can start it, right?
Yes.
How do I write
Can't
you?
talk.
Do I write you in you?
We do the same thing.
Okay, so it's, motion by me, seconded by Wayne. And then we gotta call the roll, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Huey,
Yep.
Cushman,
Yes.
Roberts, yes. Meady,
Yes.
Donnelly,
Yep.
Earth,
Yes.
Rourke.
Yes.
Sorry, now you make me do some things.